Good evening, everybody. See, we've already got a couple of viewers there. Welcome. This is Season 5, Round 5. We're at the Circuit of the Americas for the US Grand Prix. There may be 3, but this is the only one known as the US Grand Prix. The other 2 are obviously Miami and Las Vegas. We're waiting for our first action out on track, and we're going to get our first couple of cars out on outlaps. Welcome to Maestro there in the comment section. You're in the comment section and you're in the pits. Got a keyboard in the cockpit. Driving wasn't difficult enough. Not a particularly busy racetrack. Few cars choosing to go out. Bunch still in the pits. Selecting the perfect setup, waiting for the perfect time to go out on track. Don't want to go out in unnecessary traffic. So no lap times as of yet. Ride with a McLaren. Simps exiting the pits. Gonna have a very busy racetrack in just a few minutes. Almost everybody out on track. Now keep an eye. Maestro just giving a reminder to the guys to keep an eye on their on the floor plank under the car. Quite a controversial issue over the weekend. 4 cars got tested at random. 2 of the cars had the plank issue, got disqualified, yet didn't think to test the rest of the field. It's Midas, goes around the final corner. Quite a spectacular racetrack, this one. For decades, Formula One tried to capture the USA. Many tracks later, many layouts later, without success, even trying the fabled Indianapolis. But eventually, upon arriving in COTA, seems like they've found their place. And lately, well, they've added another 2. Obviously, COTA is a track that was designed to take the best elements out of other racetracks. So the S's there in Sector 1 are basically maggots and beckets. We have your first times of the night. Alfa Romeo, Ruan. I was just about to say fastest lap of the night, but he's been demoted to P2. This is the fastest lap of the night. Red Bull 33.0, not Shumi. He's followed by Windsors 33.6. Ruan P3 now, falling down the order. Pampun goes over the line P4. Got your 2 Ferraris, split by a tenth of a second. It's Midas. It's Midas and Shane now P2, P3. Lap times coming in thick and fast. Trying to see who will be next over the line. I believe it will be an Aston Martin. It's this one here. Maestro was earlier in the comment section. Now on the track goes P8, 133.8. First run of the night. Remember, just a short quali session, so no elimination at the end of the session. That will be your starting position. So important to get up the field here in COTA, and we know turn one can be very interesting. Actually got a lot of people watching and no activity in the comment section, so let me know what is pole prediction, time, driver, what do you think? Cheddar, now provisional pole 132.3, Don Ravico, his teammate 132.8. That is half a second. That covers the two AlphaTauris on the front row. Then you've got Notshumi P3. It's Midas P4 back on his way back to the pits, as is Shane after that first run. Logic now spoils the party for AlphaTauri. It was an AlphaTauri all front row. Logic's just gone P2, 132.6. Man out on circuit, yet to set a lap time. Django goes P3 for Williams, 132.7. Times between second and fourth, just a tenth of a second. So no predictions so far. Further down the field, two Ferraris, P14, P15. Ferrari will be hoping to have a better qualifying session as the evening progresses. So COTA, a lot of incidents happen here in COTA. A lot of it's down to the width of the circuit. You'd think the wider the circuit, the less the incidents. In fact, the wider the circuit, the more incidents you get, because it's so inviting to go side by side. Fontaine improves for the Ferraris, goes P8. That's a 133.5, puts him firmly in the midfield. Provisional pole sitter sits in the pits, stationary. Logic P2, Django P3. They're both heading into the pits. Don Ravico on his way out of the pits. And a lot of drivers on outlaps. Saw the first Ferrari improve. Now this is the second Ferrari. Was able to improve up to P12. Second Red Bull on the evening, Pampun. His teammate up in P6. Pampun down in P14. He's on an outlap looking to improve on that initial run. The man with the keyboard in his car, currently P15 on an outlap, looking to find something better. Needs to dig a little deeper in the pocket, see what he can find. 133.8, P15. In fact, I drove in a COTA event on Friday night, and I commentated in a COTA event last night. And I can tell you that turn 1 is a very eventful place. So maybe starting at the back is a better strategy than starting in the midfield. Provisional pole sitter currently on an outlap, as is Logic P2, Django in the pits, Don Rabico P4 also on an outlap. 7 minutes remain. We could still see another 2 runs, but you're going to have to do this quickly. COTA a long circuit. Don Rabico now up into turn 1, and what a turn 1 it is. Huge elevation change from the start finish line up to turn 1, something like 40 meters. And then a wide braking point into turn 1, and you'll find a narrower track on the exit. So a tricky corner, and one that could play a big part in the final results of this race. But for now, it's all about pole position. It's all about who's going to start in what order. Don Rabico shared the front row with his teammate briefly. That was spoiled by F1 Logic, and since has been demoted by Django as well. He's now in P4. He wants to improve, get up there with his teammate, possibly get closer to his teammate or even beat his teammate. Let's see what he can do. We said that this track was inspired by other circuits around the world, and this corner right here that Don Rabico is going around now, that is from the circuit in Turkey. And then your final corner and your pit entry, those are based on, well, our very own Kyalami. That's right, the final corner in the circuit of the Americas, as well as the pit entry, is based on those of Kyalami. Don Rabico did improve, but he was only able to demote Django, so he goes up into P3, and Cheddar improves the lap time, takes another 10th off the lap. He goes a 132.2. Logic, the bar has just been hired while you're on your fast lap. So let's see. Ooh, and as we join F1 Logic, commentator's curse, runs wide and bails out of the lap. Knows there isn't a lot of time in qualifying, decides to come in, put on a fresh set, and have another go. Don Rabico on his way back into the pits. 132.6 is his best. It's good enough for P3. A lot of cars sitting in the pits. Pampun on his way into the pits. Buffelsfontein, I think he's out on a fast lap, as is the second Ferrari of Jacques, currently down in P15. Everybody else sitting in the pits. Shane on an outlap, P10. So I keep an eye on everybody. Cheddar in provisional pole. He is on his way back to the pits with just 3.5 minutes remaining. And if he gets a move on, he can still have another run. Current fastest lap 132.2. Will we see a 131 before the end of the night? We ride now with Buffelsfontein on board, currently P11. Said how difficult turn 1 can be if you're in the midfield, and he's right in the midfield. He's in P11. He has found a 10th in sector 2. So that does seem to be heading in the right direction, but how much time does he find? Times are pretty close together, so if he's able to find half a second, he'll find a good 5 or 6 positions. Let's see, he goes around the penultimate corner. Now around the final corner. So important not to take too much of the inside curb, get invalidated, and he does improve P7, 133.1, and immediately demoted as a result of his teammate. The fourth Fontaine now P8, Shark P5. So Shark will be on his way back to the pits, as you can see in the top left hand side of your screen. Just 2 minutes remaining. Not sure these cars are going to be able to have another outlap. That will be their session complete. Look at all the cars on outlaps. There we have a Man Ray gives us a prediction. Cheddar P1, Rabico P2. Why do I have this thing blocking me here? Logic P3 and then Django P4. We'll see how it turns out. You can see a lot of cars on outlaps. This is one of them. Not Shumi, currently P7, top performing Red Bull on the night. His teammate 2 positions down on him in P9. He's also on an outlap. So many cars on outlaps. I think we're going to have a dramatic switch in these timing screens right at the end of the session. Alfa Romeo looking a bit scuffed. Paintwork not looking so great. Wonder if he spent a little time off track earlier on in the session. That is Shane, currently P8. He's starting a fast lap. This is what can happen when you leave that last run late, and you have 20 drivers in a single qualifying session, and everybody's trying to get around and improve at the same time. Looks like Shane may have found traffic on his fast lap. It's going to be really difficult to keep an eye on everybody. Checkered flag for Jacques P5, checkered flag for Grimjaw P6. They will not improve any further. They can only be demoted by all the drivers behind them that are on circuit. Not Shumi P7, Shane P8, Biffelsfontein P9, Pampoon P10, it's Midas P11. All drivers with the potential to improve here. Let's go to your provisional pole sitter. Checkered flag has fallen, so when these cars cross the line, that will be their final position. Don Rabico retires from the session, so he is done. 132.6. Fourth place will be his best possible start. Logic looking for a better time. Django, he's gone over the line. Checkered flag, P2 for him. 132.4, won't improve. Now Cheddar goes around the final corner and may get a bit of slipstream from the car ahead of him. Does he improve? 132.2. No, he did not. He gets checkered flag and remains. Oh wow, what was that all about? Not quite sure. And there we go. Prediction. Almost correct there, Manro. Just order was a bit mixed up, but the same 4 drivers as you predicted, and the pole sitter you predicted. Good evening, Visor. Welcome to COTA again. That seems like it is the end of quali. Waiting for the clock to run down. Can wait for the official results to read them out, but there we go. We'll wait for the official results. But Cheddar really dominated qualifying since his first lap time, so he'll be happy with that. So there we go, there's your official results. Cheddar takes pole position for this US Grand Prix. Django P2, Natsumi P3. That must have happened late on, didn't see that. Logic P4, Dan Arabico P5, Jacques P6, Grimjaw P7, Pampun P8. Then we've got Shane P9, Bifflesfontein making up your top 10. On the other side of things, P11 it's Midas, P12 Tiago, 13 it's Ruan, 14 definitely Duke, 15 Winsett, 16 Convoy, 17 it's Welsh, then 18 it's going to be Shakes, P19 Simps, and P20 Royal Viking. There will be no formation lap, so do keep that in mind. We'll be looking at an empty pit lane for a short period of time, and then we'll suddenly be at the red lights. No formation lap. So guys will just be busy with their final adjustments, strategy, fuel, and obviously the few adjustments you can make with Parc Fermé on, if there are any you need to make. Definitely a very competitive field. Good evening to John. Welcome to COTA. Round 5, Season 5. And we're looking at a pit lane. Seems like an abandoned pit lane. Surely there'd be someone walking around. There we go. We have the red lights. When we have 5 of them, there's going to be a pause and we're going to be underway. There we go. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, but we're underway. And look at that. Django takes the lead into turn 1. Cheddar slots into P2. Natsumi also making up positions. He's up into P3. Logic down P4. Then Don Rabico P5 where he started. Grimjaw P6. Looks like everybody nice and clean through turn 1. That's what you like to see. Actually quite a technical turn 1 here in COTA. And we have a safety car. We have a safety car and we have 2 cars that appear to be involved in that situation. It seems like Pampun and Welsh have retired on lap 1. And they retired at a suspiciously close time to when that safety car was deployed. So one has to assume that those 2 cars ran into each other. That'll put a slight pause on the race. Luckily it is lap 1, so the field is already close together. The safety car will collect the leader and we'll possibly have just the 1 lap under safety car, because the field is already compact. Commentated on a sprint race here last night. Sprint race and feature race. Feature race, if I remember correctly, had just the 1 safety car, but the sprint race had an incredible 3. So it's a really wide racetrack, and on that lap 1, when you trying to make up as many positions as possible, it's just so inviting to go side by side. Seems like there's so much space, but the width does vary, and in some cases the exit isn't quite as wide as you expect it to be. Widest parts of the circuit are obviously turn 1, and what's the other one? It would be turn 1. I believe turn 11. I think it's turn 11. Is it turn 11? It's the turn just before probably the hardest braking point on the circuit that happened. Turn 11 and turn 1, the widest parts of the circuit. Allow you to take a really wide entry, allow you to try different lines, especially in time trial and qualifying when you're looking for that best lap. But in the race it's about sticking to what works, sticking to that racing line. But as some of the COTA races I've commentated on in the past, if you're not able to break that DRS, you're going to have a very difficult time defending. DRS so strong down that back straight. If you get the combination of ERS charge, DRS and slipstream, there's almost nothing the driver ahead can do to defend. So long as you can keep that driver ahead of you close, you're always in a strong position, so long as you stay within that second. Just to bring up some info for you guys to have a look at, so we can have a better understanding of who is where in this race. Looks like we're going to have another lap behind the safety car, so that's going to give us the chance to just go through and have a look at the tyre situation. Seems like most of the field has chosen to start on the medium. We have a couple of cars now diving into the pits. Wonder if that's just for a change of strategy or if there's damage involved. Those two cars were definitely Duke and Simps. They went into the pits. But luckily the safety car didn't get too far up the road. They should be able to catch that queue, and safety car should be in this lap. We were talking about the tyre situation, and I'd say a good 96% of the field is all on mediums. Got the two cars on softs, Convoy and Royal Viking, obviously hoping to be able to make their way through that field in the early stages of the race with the superior grip. And this safety car will be certainly not working in their favour. Then another two cars, P16 and 18, they're on a set of hards, so very different strategy for them. As for the rest of the field, all on mediums. Django will be anxiously looking at the top of his screen, waiting for confirmation that that safety car is coming in. Once he gets that confirmation, then the pressure begins. He effectively becomes the safety car. He's the one that's responsible for when we get going, and he's going to be doing his best to get the jump on Cheddar. And Cheddar will be looking to get Django back for the events of turn 1. Nothing malicious in turn 1, just Django getting the superior start. Go, safety car has entered pit lane, so now there we go. Django gets underway probably a little earlier than Cheddar might have thought. Did he get the jump on him? He did, but not by far. We've seen worse, just half a second. So crucially, he hasn't let Django get the jump on him and open a gap of over a second, which already breaks DRS. We've seen that happen in the past. The leader just catches everybody unawares. Django leads the way from Cheddar, Natsumi P3. Then we have the second AlphaTauri, P4, Don Ravico, Grimjaw P5. Then we have a pair of Ferraris, Shark and Bifflesfontein, P6, P7, it's Midas P8. He's been making progress throughout the race. Started lower down. Ruan P9 wins it. Makes up the points paying positions. P10. Not far from the P10. We got an Alfa Romeo Tiago Maestro P11. He'll be looking to get into the top 10. Shakes. It's actually the two Alpines. P12, P13. Shakes and Convoy. Royal Viking, F1 Logic down the field in P15. Shane down the field in P16. So they'll be having recovery drives. Both extremely quick drivers, as is Simpson P17. And then Duke making up your field. And ironically, we have a Williams right at the bottom of the field and a Williams right at the top of the field. And just as a reference, on lap 5 of 28, the gap between first and 18th place is 11 seconds. The gap between the two Williams in first and 18th place is 11 seconds. Actually, I had to go back and look if I was reading that correctly. Yes, the entire field, 11 seconds. Django leads from Cheddar. And not Shumi close enough to apply pressure to Cheddar, so Cheddar will be looking to make the move on the Williams, but he'll also be paying attention to his mirrors. Not Shumi looking for any mistake. Cheddar goes too aggressive, looking for a move. He may lose out a position to the Red Bull behind him. But while Not Shumi's trying to get past an AlphaTauri, he's got an AlphaTauri attacking him too. Natsumi in the AlphaTauri sandwich. Cheddar P2, Don Rabico P4. Grimjaw, top performing Aston Martin on the night so far, currently in P5. He leads the way from the two Ferraris, P6 and 7. Running line astern, it's Midas. He wants to disrupt that. He's in P8, he's making his way through the field, probably not as quickly as he'd like. They'll all be waiting for DRS to become active. Should be active already, but we obviously had that safety car that would have delayed the activation of DRS, but we should get it this lap if I'm not mistaken. So next time we get a DRS activation point, things could get spicy. If you screenshot that timing screen right now, you will see that every single car in the field is within a second of the car ahead of them. Or that was the case until... Here we go, Ferraris, thanks for spoiling that. Some really close racing, close field. And what makes it so impressive, no real collisions. We had that incident on lap 1, but I can't really comment on it because we didn't see anything of it. But we did have a DNF for Pampun and Welsh almost simultaneously, and then simultaneously a safety car. So I have to presume those two went into each other, or they just had very timely retirements. It's Midas has broken that Ferrari line astern. He's now up into P7, and now he's got another Ferrari to clear ahead of him. Grimjaw still P5. Don Rabico just slightly off the podium. Podium sitters so far: Natsumi P3, Cheddar P2, Django in P1. And what do we say? We're under safety car. Obviously now this is the second full safety car period in the race. We haven't had a virtual safety car. Both incidents taking us straight into full safety car conditions. First safety car was as a result of what I presume were Pompoen and Welsh going into each other, but as I say, don't take my word for it, we do not have footage of that incident. And now the second safety car was clearly triggered by the Alpine convoy, now showing up on our screens as a DNF. 17 runners remain from the 20 that began this race. These races lately that have been broadcast in Season 5 have been getting some really great viewership on the channel, and I'm suspicious that some of that viewership is Tier 2 trying to get some ideas for Wednesday, some knowledge for Wednesday. So maybe 20 of those views, Tier 2 is responsible. In fact, we have one here. John is currently in the comment section. He's one of our Wednesday night drivers, supporting the field on a Monday night. Django leads the way behind the safety car. He's got the two Alpha Tauris behind him in P2 and P3. Grimjaw P4 and Jacques P5. Thank you for the confirmation. They're just getting confirmation in the comment section that the first lap incident was due to a concertina effect caused by Django that disconnected from the lobby. So unfortunately a game issue causing the incident on lap 1. But just as in motorsport, when some are unfortunate, the rest continue and take opportunity of the misfortune. We are on lap 8 of 28 and in our second safety car. No confirmation of safety car coming in, and he's definitely not, because that's the pit entry. So we're going to get another lap of this. Django from Cheddar, Don Rabico P3, Grimjaw P4 and Jacques P5. And I see the name Jacques. F1, Jacques Villeneuve. Probably the only driver I can think of in recent history to take pole position as a rookie on debut. First ever drive in a Formula 1 car at the Australian Grand Prix, took pole position and finished the race P2, only because his team told him he needed to back off or his car wasn't going to make it to the end of the race, letting his teammate go past him with I think it was 5 or 6 laps to go, or he would have won on debut. Got the pole position and fastest lap in his debut race of F1. Went on to finish this season second. Championship went down to the final round, and reliability played a part. Damon Hill won that championship, but the very next year Jacques Villeneuve returned to win the 1997 World Championship, in just his second year of F1. Wasn't able to ever repeat the feat though. Fortunately for him, fortunately for the talented driver, some bad career moves. And a career that dwindled from there. Obviously his dad and uncle also raced in Formula 1. Gilles Villeneuve, which obviously tragically lost his life. And his uncle, which was Jacques Villeneuve Sr. He was also an F1 driver. There we go, we get underway again. Now Django is going to have two angry AlphaTauris behind him wanting to get by. Remember, everyone there in the top 8 on exactly the same set of tyres. They're all on mediums. So this lead will not be decided by inferior grip. Everyone on the same set of tyres, same age old. We've got some of the first penalties coming through of the evening. Royal Viking and Shane each have a penalty next to their name. I presume that is for corner cutting. It is 3 seconds apiece, so that is track limits for both drivers early on in the race. Got to be so careful not to let those stack up. Last night in another COTA race, we saw some drivers stacking up 12 and 15 penalties. So easy to rack them up. The track that in places is 15 meters wide, and we still manage to go over track limits. It is now probably the widest track on the calendar. That used to be Malaysia, Sepang. I know many drivers who would love to see a return to Sepang. Django still leads the way around the final corner now to start lap 11. Two AlphaTauris, P2, P3, Grimjaw, P4. We have Tiago safety car again. Well. How are we gonna get this going, folks? This time, we didn't even manage to get DRS going. We have our 4th retirement. That retirement is Tiago in the Aston Martin. That means we have 16 runners remaining in this race, and we are under our 3rd safety car on lap 11 of 28. If you're watching and you're from Tier 2, take some notes. Everyone needs to take it calm. Obviously now with all these safety cars, it really begs the question, what do you do? Do you pit under safety car and give up that much track position? Remember, the entire field is together. We haven't even been really able to recover from the previous safety cars. So the field really close together, and if you were to pit now, it's guaranteed that you would come back right at the back of the field, unless all your competitors did exactly the same thing. Just really impressed to see the viewership on this channel. Such an active channel. Really great to see. In fact, we're almost at 100 subscribers. So if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. We're on 97 subscribers. Just need 3 subscribers to make that 100 mark. And the races have been averaging almost 200 views a week. And look at this. Lots of action in the pits. So much action in the pits. Ooh, we have a Ferrari ghosted into a Merc. Those are all going to have to unghost themselves before they come out of the pits, and they do. Let's see what order everybody comes out in. Obviously, some cars chose to stay out because they had pit under a previous safety car. So we have Buffelsfontein in the lead, who chose not to pit, but he is on the oldest set of tyres in the entire field. He's on an 11 lap old set of mediums, so he hasn't pit since the start of the race. He's chosen to take track position. He's in P1. Then we have Simps P2, Notsumi P3, and then the two Aston Martins in Alfa Romeo, sorry, the two Alfa Romeos in P4 and P5. Those cars pit under a previous safety car, so they have relatively fresh tyres, and they have been able to jump the entire field as a result of this safety car here. Two AlphaTauris, I think they may have had a slight double stack problem, because Don Rabico was right behind Cheddar, and now Grimjaw has split the two, and we know you can't pass under safety car, so that must have happened in the pits, presuming the two AlphaTauris came in together, and Don Rabico had to wait that little longer, and Grimjaw was able to jump the one AlphaTauri. Safety car will be in this lap. Usually we've seen the restarts that they've really let the safety car go off into the distance. Not this time. Buffelsfontein leaving it late. Now he goes. And there we go. First objective complete. Hold on to the lead into turn 1. I got that completely wrong. He did not hold on to the lead. Simps has taken the lead, and actually he's opening up a nice little gap. Notsumi now putting on the pressure on the Ferrari. He'll want to get by as quickly as possible. That car ahead of him's got 12 laps on the mediums. It's not fresh tyres. He's not going to be getting good traction out of the corners, good grip. And he's going to be slowing down the cars behind him. And this may just play in serious favour to the McLaren ahead. But now Notsumi, even before DRS is active, as well as the Alfa Romeo of Shane, go past Buffelsfontein. He loses 2 positions down the back straight. I think he'll be regretting the decision of not going into the pits. Got to lead for a couple of meters, but now falling down the field as Simps. A 1 second lead, crucially breaking that DRS. Notsumi does not have that luxury. He's got Shane all over the back of him, 0.6 of a second. Buffelsfontein fell down the order, now in P4. Got another AlphaTauri coming up the inside. There we go, before turn 1, he's able to get himself in front. And Buffelsfontein loses another position down to P5. Cheddar back in the top 4. And as far as the fresher tyre goes, Cheddar in P4 just got the 2 laps on those hards. That may come into play at the end of this race when everybody else's tyres may start to not necessarily fall off, but possibly just pass their peak. The guys with slightly fresher hards may just have an advantage with a few laps remaining. Django is in P5. Grimjaw P6, Ruan second of the Alfa Romeos P8. Position changes happening everywhere now. Don Rabico P7, Grimjaw Madness in the midfield. Not much better up in the front. Sims leads the way from Natsumi. That gap 0.8 of a second. Sims will be trying so hard to get that over 1 second. Once it's over a second, things do get easier. While it's within a second, every time there's a DRS straight, that car behind you just gets to cancel out all the hard work you've done leading up to that moment. You build the gap up to 8, 9 tenths, go through a DRS section, and it's back to 4 tenths, and you've got to do it all over again. And until you're able to break that 1 second mark, it's really just a repetitive cycle, and becomes very tiresome for the car doing the defending. Shane, currently P3. Let's ride on board with him. We haven't been riding on board with many drivers in this race. Get an on-screen view of what's going on out there. A lock-up for both drivers ahead of him. Shane, P3, looking for what he can do. There we go. We were talking about that 1 second gap. And as you can see, from the point of view of P2, that gap has actually shrunk rather than grown. 0.5 of a second. It was 0.4 of a second. Getting really close together. That means Natsumi's going to have DRS. But crucially, he's going to be close on the exit. You can have DRS and be too far behind. But if you're able to get on the gearbox and follow DRS right on through, it should be easy. But Natsumi didn't get the best exit out of the final corner. May have squirmed around just a little bit more than he would have wanted. And that allowed Sims just to get up the road just by a tenth or two. And that made sure he stayed in front into turn 1. But Natsumi will be back. It's one thing defending the DRS zone on the main straight. It's another thing defending the DRS zone on this back straight. Formula 1 now has ridiculous straights, so this straight doesn't really compare. But if you look at the MotoGP calendar, I believe this is ranked the longest straight on the MotoGP calendar. Some contact. Natsumi makes contact with Sims. Light contact. I don't really see any damage. Let's just have a look in the broadcast cam. No damage to that Red Bull. But just the slightest contact, and surely that just broke the momentum, broke the concentration for Sims. He was able to get going again, but in all of that, he managed to lose a position, and Shane takes the lead of the race, and Sims picks up a 3-second penalty for his troubles. And I think we're going to have a not so impressed McLaren driver. The incident wasn't a serious one. It was the smallest of touches under different circumstances. Nothing serious would have happened, but because there was such a close battle, it was just enough to break the concentration of the leader, and he lost a position to Shane, who went from P3 to the leader of the race in just one corner. But is he the favourite? A lot of fast drivers behind him, and they'll all be looking to do the same thing, climb the order and challenge for the lead. This is now the Red Bull losing another position. Natsumi, he went down from P2, was challenging Sims for such a long time. Eventually the contact did come. It was slight contact, but it was enough to change the results in the race. Shane now leads the race, not Shumi. He dropped down to P3 briefly. Thought it was time for him to now get his head down and recover, get back into P2, but unfortunately for him, he's continued dropping down into P4. And Grimjaw now takes that final podium position with 10 laps to go. Shane leads the way from Simps. Simps has definitely not given up on this. There's definitely not any damage on that McLaren. He didn't get damage from the incident. Look at this, 0.2 of a second for the lead. 0.2 of a second for the lead, and Grimjaw's right there. If these two run into each other, Grimjaw's going to be there for the lead. A little further back, the Red Bull has lost momentum. He's in P4. He's coming under pressure from Django, so could continue to fall down this order. And just as I say that, it's that back straight. There's just nothing you can do if the car behind you has a little bit of pace, has better momentum, has DRS. There is absolutely nothing you can do within the rules of F1 to defend that position. Shane leads, 10 laps to go, gap is half a second. Grimjaw a further 0.6 down. So we have a DRS train for the lead. In fact, we have a DRS train for the top 6. John, if you're watching, if any of the guys from Tier 2 are watching, how are you feeling? Heading into Wednesday night, feeling confident? Is it one of your favorite tracks? Maybe not really. I know some people can't come to terms with Sector 1 of this track, and it puts them off the rest of it. Let me know how you're feeling about Wednesday night. Obviously this happens all again on Wednesday night. And where Monday nights will be guaranteed to be streamed, unless something crazy were to happen, Wednesday nights are probably going to be streamed. But I can tell the Tier 2 guys that this week probably 90% you will get a stream. And in fact, in terms of views, Tier 2 doing almost as well as Tier 1. So some really fantastic support at SAFRL. Back to the action. Shane still leads the race. Crucially, he's on a set of mediums, and those tires will fall off before everyone behind him. He has the oldest laps on. He has the oldest tires on the track. Behind him is Simps, also 12 lap old tires, but he's on the hards, should be able to go further. And then we got Grimjaw and Django also on hards, but 4 laps fresher than their competitors up front. Grimjaw and Django still in a strong position here with 8 laps to go. Will Shane have to pit again? How far do the mediums go on this circuit? If you know in the comment section, let me know. How far do the medium tires go? What's a stretch? What's possible? And what's not recommended? 3-second time penalty for Royal Viking becomes the latest offender in a large collection in that penalties column. No 5-second infringements, so no pit lane stuff. All penalties seem to be related to track limits. The pit stop situation, most of the drivers just doing the one stop. Simps somehow is in P2, and he's done 3 stops in this race. He's also made up 17 positions. If that isn't a nominee for driver of the day, I don't know what is. And as a result of Shane's pit stop, I knew he had to do it 13 lap old mediums. He'd have to take 20 laps out of those mediums if he was going to finish the race. As a result, Simps takes the lead of the race. I believe that's 18 positions from where he started. Let's just have a look if we can see who has set the fastest lap of the race. Fastest lap of the race is actually the man down in P15, Biffelsfontein. That was a 1:36.3, and he is the holder of the fastest lap of the night so far. Second fastest lap goes to Django, 1:36.5. The entire field now much more spread out than we saw a few laps ago. Guys at the back will be praying for just one more safety car so that they can be brought back into this and just have a little sprint to the end. Some cars really far adrift. Man who looked very strong earlier on in the race, now in P15, 18 seconds adrift from the next car. And he will have a lonely race to the end, as will Biffelsfontein if a safety car does not intervene. We've had 3 already, we might not get another one. Cheddar, to add to the pain, to add to the grief, P15, throw a penalty on it. Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas has not been kind to your pole sitter. Currently running out the points in P15. As for this man here, the complete opposite of Cheddar's race. He's made up 18 positions since the start of the race. He's on a set of hard tires, and he leads the race by 2 seconds. His hard tires are 4 laps older than the 2 cars behind him, so it's going to be very important for him to build a lead here, because if, and probably when, his tires do start to drop off, P2 and P3 are going to have a serious advantage over him. So he needs to make sure he opens this gap up now while he can, while he has the grip, while he has the traction. Another 3-second time penalty, this time for Windsors. And I said at the beginning of the race that penalties would play a part. I've seen it in previous races leading up to this one. Not as high as some of the examples I've seen elsewhere, but a lot of drivers in the field nonetheless. In Tier 1, where we've seen entire races with just 2 or 3 drivers in the penalties column. So, not just one driver, this is a common problem. Shane now, 1:35.8, takes the fastest lap of the race. He was leading the race ever so briefly, but now he's going to have a 5-lap shootout to the end. P9, let's see how many positions he can make up. First he needs to make up a 3-second gap, but once he does that, he's going to be in a DRS train that will lead him almost to second. So let's see where those soft tires can help him too. He's the only man there in the top 10 on a set of softs. But your leader, still out front, gap still growing. Cheddar sets the fastest lap of the race. And that fastest lap of the race will just be a what could have been. Pace is definitely there, but unfortunately for him, some serious misfortunes. Simps leads the way, still 2.3 seconds. Just stabilizing the gap just a little bit. Django will want to hold on to that and start reeling him in. Can't let that gap get too big. There's just 4 laps remaining. Even if he does get an advantage on those tyres, if the gap is too big, he's not really going to get that advantage, is he? So he's got to close a 2.5 second gap, and in doing so, make sure he doesn't make any mistakes that Grimjaw right behind him could capitalize on. Logic P4, top performing Mercedes-Benz on the night. Hopefully no problems with the skid plates on that Mercedes. Wouldn't that be a thing in the game? Set your car up too low, go over the line, think you've completed the race, and you just get a DSQ jump up. We ride with Don Rabico as he makes up a position. AlphaTauri goes past Red Bull. Oh, Marco would not be impressed. Not Shumi would take the long way around to get back to the pits because he wouldn't want to have that conversation. He knows how important it is. Don't want to annoy Marco. He fights back, takes the position back ever so briefly. Don Rabico holds on the inside. Now he's going to have to go around the outside, and he does. Penultimate corner just cements that position. Don Rabico up into P5, but now not Shumi will get DRS, and he will get the opportunity to come back at him one more time up into turn 1. Does Don Rabico go to the inside and defend? No, he doesn't, because not Shumi was not really attacking at the time. Seems to have maybe just accepted the position. I wonder if there's damage on that car, because ever since that slight tap, we don't see any damage on the front wing, but ever since that slight tap, he's just been falling back. Not at an extreme rate, but just seems like something's missing. Doesn't have the ultimate pace. Losing another 2 positions, and now he's ghosting, and now he's not. Was ghosting ever so briefly, lost another 2 positions. He's down to P8 in what was looking like a really promising race. How things change. I remember commentating earlier on in the race that Simps was making up your field. And now he leads the race. Most positions gained. Not only will he be the winner, he'll also be the driver of the day. But unfortunately for him, those tyres are going to be absolutely finished at the end of this. So he's not going to be able to claim the fastest lap. Don't think anyone out there is going to be able to claim the fastest lap. Unless this man here does it. Shane out of the points. It's in P11. And he's got a brand new set of softs on that car. Maybe just going for fastest lap. Royal Viking is his next target, but seems like too far up the road. 12 seconds wins it. P7. 2 Mercedes are split by an AlphaTauri. Logic P4, Rabico P5, Midas P6. And then your top 3. I think Simps might just have this in the bag. Simps P1, Django P2, Grimjaw P3. Grimjaw has 1.8 seconds from the Williams. And then crucially the Williams 2 seconds adrift from the McLaren with 2 laps remaining. So long as the gap is that big, he cannot make use of DRS. If he could get within a second, DRS would make this oh so possible. As for the rest of your field, Shane, is he ghosting? I'm not sure what's going on there. Doesn't seem to be ghosting, but I wonder if that car is just disconnected, because it came in, put on a brand new set of softs, and a lap later came in and put on a brand new set of hards. So unless he had an incident we don't know about, some really strange things happening down at Alfa Romeo. Simps leads the way, 1.9 seconds. He's been able to hold on to that lead, hold on to that gap. Django P2, don't think he can do much about this. It's not in his hands anymore. It's really in the hands of the leader. It's in Simp's hands. If he's able to hold this together, he will win this race. If he makes a mistake, then Django is going to be right there to pick up the trophy. Grimjaw P3 also had a good race. Actually, just look at the positions gained by these top three. Django is exactly where he started. He's in P2. He started in P2. Simps in P1 has made up an incredible 18 positions. And Grimjaw also making up a handful of positions to get to P3. He's made up 4 positions. It's quite crazy to think about that in such an up and down race with 3 safety cars, out of sync pit stops, all sorts of drama, Django started in P2, and that's exactly where he remains. He's still in P2. Simps, Django, Grimjaw, your top 3. Logic P4, Rabico P5, Midas P6. No real battles out on track as we speak. Buffelsfontein, he's trying for P11, but he's just gone outside that 1 second barrier. The only battle on track within the 1 second barrier is this one right here. It's Rabico going up against Logic for P4. Podium not on the cards for either one of them, but this is for bragging rights. Don Rabico goes ahead. DRS on the back straight, not much Logic could have done to defend the position. And Don Rabico going about getting a little bit back from the USGP for AlphaTauri, who looked so promising at the start of this race. Could have even expected a 1-2 out of the guys. But things have changed dramatically. Look at Cheddar's pace. That gap was 15 seconds. He's now just 2 seconds adrift. And there we go. Your winner, Django Simps. That was penalties. Penalties. We're going to wait for your final results. As these guys go over the line, there's too many penalties for me to try and keep track of. We're going to let the timing screens sort themselves out. Seems like Cheddar's car is ghosting. Or if I just saw that from a weird angle. Shakes is definitely ghosting. Natsumi goes over the line. Royal Viking goes over the line. Now we wait for Definitely Duke. It's going to be the first man outside the top 10 to go over the line. B11 followed closely by a Ferrari of Buffelsfontein, who actually gains the position due to penalties. And now we just await those final standings. And we'll see where everyone landed up in the end. And there we go. There are your official results for Season 5, Round 5 here in COTA for SAFRL. Django took the victory at the end. What a drive from him. Took 18 positions to get there. Simps P2. Actually, it was Simps that took the 18 positions. Django stole it with the penalty. Django takes the win. Simps P2. Grimjaw P3. Rabico P4. Logic P5. Then Midas P6. Wizards P7. Jacques P8. Natsumi P9. Unfortunately for him, he fell down the order. Royal Viking, he makes up your top 10. Just outside the top 10, got the other Ferrari of Biffelsfontein in P11, Duke P12, second AlphaTauri of Cheddar P13, Shane in P14, Shakes 15, and I believe that is the entire field that finished your race. That leaves us with a column of 4 DNFs. Is it 5 DNFs? Your DNFs, Ruan, Maestro, Convoy, and on lap 1, Pompoon and Welsh. Saw the numbers there on the viewers getting quite high at times in this stream. So I want to thank everybody who did join us tonight, everybody who took part in the comment section. Comment section was a little quiet actually. But if you did take part, if you did watch, if you're going to watch us later on in the week, whatever the case may be, thanks for joining us, thanks for joining me. And we'll be back on Wednesday night to do it all again for Season 5, Round 5 of Tier 2 SAFRL. We'll see you then. Cheers, guys.